Hello model railroaders, my name's Dave. Welcome back to the layout. Well, I've made some decisions regarding the logging run, but we just need to verify one slope that the engine will work on before solidifying those plans. So that's what I've got set up to do. So what I've got is the Woodland Scenics preformed slope gradient that I salvaged from my earlier layout, and I've got it jumpered in up to the top level. Oh, it's not jumpered into the lower level. Well, why is that? Well, because the lower level's got a big hole in it. So my bus lines that travel along this corner section aren't powering up from here all the way down there on the lower loop. However, as far as the upper loop goes, we have bus lines. So the upper level is now completely powered up. So what the plan is, having measured this slope gradient, whatever you want to call it, it is a 4% grade. So that means there is a rise of 4 inches for every 100 of inches of travel. Now I predetermined that with the loco and the number of cars that I want to run, that I'm at, 27 and a half, 27 3/4 inches. So let's call it 28 just to have a nice round number. So whatever I do, and that leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, only pulling 6 logging cars because I want that switchback. And if I extend the length of the switchback, then I can squeeze in more logging cars. But the minimum I need to deal with is 28 inches. So I've got the loco here, and this is the one I did a earlier video on, putting a Soundtracks to Sami sound decoder in it, and that's primarily the reason why I want to use this locomotive, is because it does have sound in it. And I know I probably more realistically would be using a Shea or a Climax. However, my budget has no room in it for a Shea or a Climax, especially with sound. So we will use what we have, even though it's a little larger engine for what would typically be used. And I recognize that, but again, as I've said, it's my layout, and just as your layout is your layout, we can do whatever we want. And if anyone visiting doesn't like it, well, they don't necessarily have to come back again. I know that's a little mercenary of me, but you know, I'm not a rivet counter, and I'm not doing anything prototypical with my layout. I'm doing it for my enjoyment, not anybody else's. If somebody else does enjoy the layout when they come over and we run some trains, hey, that's just a bonus. So I've got it set up. So let's see if we can up a 4% grade haul. So that's at step 1. That's at step 2. That's at step 3, so just a little bit of slippage. Now I do have a couple cars hanging over an 8% grade, so I'm not too concerned about that initial slippage. In fact, now that all the cars are off, I'll turn it back this speed step 0, and let me see if I can give you a better angle starting back up again. So speed step 1, speed step 2, and speed step 3. And no real slippage with all the cars on the 4% grade. So, of course, going back down the track, I don't expect to have any issues at all. So, and that seems to be climbing at a nice slow speed without any issues at all. So I'm quite confident that a 4% grade can be handled by this locomotive. So let me swing you around and we'll take a look at the plan. So, incorporating a switchback, this section right in here would be this section that would travel down and maybe even cut in to this section to give me enough room, and then would diagonal out or curve around over to the other side of the layout. So that's the thought there, to give me the distance I need. So I need 8 inches for the loco itself to decouple and to be able to go enable the turnout to be thrown and for it to follow the other track. So we'll have a slight yard, and because I don't want to back down a whole length, we'll have to do a reversing a Y and throw in a I can't remember what the little cartridge, the electronic module is, the reversing loop module, I guess, is what it's called, and with another 8-inch, so and then a 36-inch length here, and then I'm giving a 30-inch gradient to drop 1 inch, so this would be at a 6-inch height for this, and then we would drop down to a 5-inch level with another 3-foot or 36-inch spot, and then that would transition from the 5 inches over a 10-foot span down to 3 inches. So a 2-inch drop over 120 inches or 10 feet is 1.7% grade. So I know that will not be any problems. A 1-inch drop over 30 inches is a 3.3% grade, or a 1-inch drop over 24 inches is a 4.2. So we just challenged the locomotive. We know we can successfully have no issues of it climbing at very slow speed at a 4% grade. So that's good, but we need more distance because the total length with 6 logging cars is going to be 30. Now, a little addendum to that climb, realistically they would not be taking logs up the incline. So I'm actually creating a over scenario, if you will, by having each of those 6 logging cars have the load in them, because that will be what would be added on at the logging yard, I don't know what to call it, the logging level up on top of the mountain. So the cars would actually be traveling up to their empty from the lower logging yard. I guess upper logging yard and lower logging yard to differentiate the two. So the fact that we can do a 4% with fully loaded logging cars and climb at slow speed means we'll have no problems. If a 4% has to be included, though, we'll try and not put that scenario into practice. So the 30 inches will give me a 3.3. The cars coming up empty won't be an issue. So we'll have the train come up, the 1.7% grade, level out at 5 inches. The turnout will be thrown. It will back up the incline up until this level up here, and the turnout will be thrown. It'll come through and go on this side loop, detach, pull ahead, that turnout will be thrown, and it can back up with that turnout thrown, and then throw this one on the Y to come through to this point. And now we've changed direction so that we're facing forward, and then we can back in and connect up to the logging cars on the spur that have been loaded, and then drive forward across to this level, back down onto this level, and then proceed back out down the logging run. So I figured that I've got an 8-foot section, a 4-foot, a 2-foot, a 4-foot, and the 2-foot is the sidewall section over there. So right about here is where I've got the seam brake put in, and then the curve starts from that point. That was just making that steam release noise. So that means it's making good contact with that old track, even though I just hit it with the track cleaner just to buff it up. That track hasn't had any activity in about 2.5 years, so that's pretty good. So back to where we were. Height of 5 inches from this section here. So from about the left side of where the turnout will be, we have to drop from 5 inches down to 3 inches. There's our 10-foot span, and then there'll be a little extra. So I will definitely be above 2 inches at that curve. So it'll take just another 10 feet of drop to gain down to the level of the plywood from that point. So that means that I should be somewhere around about 2 3/4 inches when I cross over that bit of track right at the seam block. And then now I'll have, well, 10, 12, 14 inches, however that is, to drop the grade down. I don't know, it'll probably end up somewhere around here, because even if I go with a lower gradient and stretch it out longer, that's all the better. Dropping those 2 inches from the 9 inch, pardon me, dropping the 3 inches from the 9 inches to the 6 inch for the upper level here, instead of that being 9, it being 6, really made a difference on getting everything to fit. And I think having the grade that's dropping being between the two tracks over on this side of the layout is a good use of that space between these two tracks. And whether I do a seam block on the ones on this side or not, because this track will be hidden by the slope of the styrofoam, so I may not even have to do a seam block on this side. So that's the plan, is that about 2, 2.5, 2 3/4 at this point, having it cut across over and then follow parallel that track as it loops around to bring it down. Now I may even go with some foam, 1/2 inch foam, which will just make it a less of a gradient. So anyway, hope everybody has a happy new year, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.